Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So continuing our series where I invite some of my favorite people who happen to be experts and advisors onto the show. Jeanne and I have known each other for, probably 5 or 6 years. She is arguably the smartest person that I know. And she has a unique way of taking very high level social science information and actually dumbing it down for me. And so I thought it'd be great to have her on the show. Her and I were talking about some previous work she did through natural disasters. And I think we can all agree that COVID situation is, basically fits in that role. But her work really delves into the science of how to engage markets, other people around your business to kind of tighten those bonds and create intimacy and potentially identify problems before they become a big issue, including losing business. So I'm probably going to tease her a lot. Just prepare yourself. Because she's smart, she's nerdy. I'm nerdy in sales. She's nerdy in social sciences. And so I'm probably going to be giving her some ribbings. There might be some jokes you don't understand. That's okay, because this is a conversation between her and I that we're welcoming you to listen into. So, Jeanne, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here.
So why don't you share with the viewers a little bit of your impressive background, maybe a little bit on your undergrad and then your teaching and so on. You taught at kind of arguably one of the best football schools in the country, but maybe kind of dig back into your undergrad, how you ended up at LSU, and then kind of how your business came out of your educational background.
Sure. So my undergraduate degree is from William & Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, and great little school. Had a wonderful time there. My graduate degrees are from University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels, and so when I completed my PhD, the academic market was arguably one of the worst in decades. And I wanted to go to a research university, and I was fortunate enough to land a job in the sociology department at LSU, which was a very strong department, and did research and taught for well over 20 years, met my husband there. So we were colleagues in the same department and did research together and published papers together, and then we started a business together and had a child together along the way. So we had a great deal of togetherness. And so the consulting business emerged as I saw academia beginning to change and transform. And so I started a consulting business focused mostly on surveys and so forth, and then eventually transitioned out of academia, retired, so I could do this full time. And I'm so privileged because I wake up in the morning and I love what I do. I get to work with wonderful clients, many of whom have become dear friends. It's great life.
And so what did you do your doctorate in?
My doctorate was in sociology, and my dissertation was on how social networks help people find jobs, and also on job satisfaction.
When we first met, I remember you told me that you did surveys, and I think in my mind, like a lot of people, I think surveys are, you go to Michael's or Walmart, and at the end they take their fingernail and they scratch the end of the receipt and they say, hey, if you do a 5-minute survey, you can win $1,000. So I think from a consumer side, and even a business owner that's a consumer, I think we often dismiss surveys as, just kind of, do you like Tide, yes or no? Do you like our office hours, yes or no? Can you give a low level, because I know how smart you are, can you give, so that Chris can understand, kind of a basic understanding of predictive analytics as it relates to surveys or collecting data? Because I think a lot of businesses, we wait for feedback that we might get. Normally it's negative feedback, right? Somebody's pissed about something. But talk to me about the systemization of collecting data.
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. On the one hand, I don't believe that everybody needs to fill out a survey when they go to Michael's or buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And that's part of our challenge right now, because there's so much there's so much being done that doesn't need to be done. And there's so many surveys that are being done so badly. It's challenging us in terms of getting response. But if we can do it right, then we can do it in a way that builds a bond with our customers instead of destroying our relationship with them, which is what some of these market research surveys honestly do. And so we have the opportunity to get feedback. The way to do it is to get it on an ongoing basis, to build a system that's going to constantly bring you information, not just on how satisfied your customers are, but on what they want and need and how well you're giving them what they want and need. Because those are the two most important questions in business, in my opinion. You know, what do they want? How well are we giving them what they want? Most businesses can't answer those two fundamental questions. And right now, in a challenging time like this, those questions become even more critically important. Now, you mentioned predictive analytics, and predictive analytics is huge. I mean, it's what built Amazon and Facebook, all these algorithms. And the interesting thing is that every business can leverage what only large businesses used to leverage. And so on the one hand, we collect data from our customers, and that can go into predictive analytics models. Then we can append data. We can take our records on our customers in our CRM, and we can easily and inexpensively append a wide range of information. And the value of predictive analytics is that instead of saying poor people are more likely to commit crime, we can actually attach a probability of a given behavior, whether it's a prospect converting or it's a customer churning or whatever it is. You can attach an individual probability to every individual in the data set. So a friend of mine who works with us and does predictive analytics actually dropped the homicide rate in Baton Rouge 38% using predictive analytics, because what they did was get a probability that somebody was going to commit homicide.
Kind of when I think about you describing that, like in our business, we look for champions, right? So activating champions. And what it sounds like, and I think this is the hard part that I had around my head is, I thought the businesses did a survey, once every couple of years, but it sounds like when you're talking about ongoing engagement, it's almost like you're recruiting stakeholders where people feel like they're a focus group, somebody that can give feedback on where the company should go, where it should avoid, and kind of give you those real pieces aside from, like I said, do you like our store hours? Like, it seems like there's intelligence that your customers are holding that businesses simply aren't tapping into, which seems crazy.
That's exactly right. And we recommend normally tapping into customer sentiment every 9 to 12 months. But right now, in the dynamic environment we're in right now, we think you actually have to do it more than that, but you've got to do it incredibly carefully. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to understand that a lot of people are really fragile right now. And when you reach out to get that feedback, you need to do so in a very generous and sensitive way. And then the second thing is, whether we're in this environment or we're in just an everyday kind of normal times environment, you've got to make this all about them and not about you. Market research companies tend to send out surveys that feel like, give us the information we need to make more money now. That's tone deaf in any environment, and it's critically tone deaf now. You need to show them that you're going to use the information they give you to serve them more effectively. And you need to tell them that up front. You need to tell them you're going to use the information to do that. And then you need to report back to them on what you find. And one of the, not with a data dump, but with 3 things like, hey, we're so gratified that 98% of you would recommend us and 96% are satisfied. But you also told us that our e-commerce systems are not serving you in the way you need. So here are the actions we're going to take to fix that. What a compelling thing to send out to your customers. And now they're going to start to understand they are listening and they are putting this to work on my behalf.
And so if they feel heard, my assumption is, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're much more likely to participate in future engagement when you're asking for information, because they're like, it's not just falling on deaf ears. You're actually taking the feedback I'm giving and making my experience better.
Exactly. And so what we do for our clients is we put together a little one-pager. We do it for them. So all they have to do is email it out. And we don't want it sent just to the people who responded. We want it to send to everyone for exactly that reason. Because to put it crudely, you're essentially training them to take your surveys because you're showing them that it is about them.
Do you have to bribe them? Like, do you have to, like, I think of Walmart, right? Like when you go there and they're like, you know, fill out the survey and you could win $1,000, or do this and you get, like, I got a survey the other day from BMW. You do this and we're going to send you a $25 gift certificate for dinner. Is that kind of a good practice, is to incentivize on some level to get them over that first hump of give us your input. We're going to give you feedback that we heard your input. And then, like, is that the way to prime that engine?
Yes, almost uniformly it is. We tend to call it an incentive rather than a bribe, but yes, and so we do something for some of our clients. For example, we might have a pool of 10 $100 gift cards. They, Amazon, American Express, whatever. Obviously, Amazon's a competitor, we're going to go with American Express, and we'll have 3 invitations, and we'll drip the pool of gift cards across them. So the first invitation will say, we're asking for your feedback. We're going to give you a chance to win 10 $100 gift cards. We're going to give away the first 3 in 48 hours. Go here now. And then the second one anonymously congratulates the first 3 winners. 7 left. Give the next 3 in 48 hours. Go here now. So what you're doing then is building urgency and scarcity into the offer and combating the tendency for people to just sit there. And you're also showing them that you value their time and effort. Now, your BMW example, in that case, their market is obviously, for the most part, affluent. And so in that situation, rather than giving them a chance to win a gift card, they're giving everyone something. If we survey people in the C-suite, that's usually our practice. And we'll usually go to a $50 gift card, because even though someone in the C-suite may not need the $50, it's enough to say to them, we truly value your input and your time. And so, we're going to give you this as a thank you.
And so because you design those as well, and I think a lot of people, when they think about doing this type of feedback loop, right, getting information from their markets, they don't even know the questions that they would ask. And so that's something that you would work on with them as well, right? Like, they don't have to come up with that in order to have a conversation with you.
No, absolutely not. No, what we do is we sit down with our clients and we get the information usually in about an hour from our client that we need to put the instrument together. We put it together, we review it with them, and then, we begin the process. But that's a really critically important part of how we work with our clients, because this shouldn't be one size fits all. This should be customized for the company. So although there's certain things like our testimonial generator that we use routinely, we adapt what we're doing to the company and its culture.
Gotcha. And are the questions both quantitative and qualitative, or is one survey quantitative? Like, do you mix the 2 types of information gathering, or do you normally keep them agnostic?
That's a great question. We like to go with 80, or actually probably closer to 90%, what we call closed-ended questions, which yield quantitative data, and no more than 10% open-ended, which yield qualitative data. And we do that for 2 reasons. Number one, people don't like to think and they don't like to write. So respondents, if you just give them a number of open-ended questions, or if you just sprinkle in too many open-ended questions, your termination rates are going to go way up. And the second thing is that we want these data to be actionable. And it's really difficult to make open-ended data, qualitative data, actionable unless you're very, very skilled in qualitative data analysis.
So given this situation, I mean, I think when I think of our company, we've circled the wagons, right? All of our coaches have brought all the clients in tight, and we're all kind of not in a defensive mode, but in a really intentional mode, right? And so the growth right now is, I mean, firsthand, like, we're aggressors, right? We go after markets, and we love these markets because they're quiet. But I would have to assume, and see, what I'm saying to our clients is, there's never been a greater time to build intimacy with your clientele and to grab clients of competitors who are choosing not to build those relationships. Talk to me about how, now you did some work during the Katrina times, but I want you to kind of share a little bit about your projects around Hurricane Katrina, but also how businesses right now, and this is going to sound crude, I think you know what I mean. How do they take advantage of the negative situation to create a positive increase in the value of the relationship they have with their markets?
It's not crude. It's only crude if you do it in a way that doesn't serve them. If you reach out and you go into that market in a way that truly serves them and gives them what they need right now, then that's a win-win for everyone. And that's what, in my opinion, what everybody should be focused on. Because long after this is over, I believe people are going to remember two things. They're going to remember that you served them, and they're going to remember that you cared. If you do those two things, which you do extraordinarily well, Chris, if you do those two things, the market is going to reward you, and it's going to reward you because you're doing well by doing good. And that's where I think everybody's heads should be right now. It is an incredibly tough time. We have high levels of uncertainty. I mean, just almost unfathomably high levels of uncertainty. And so individuals have an opportunity right now in the business environment to reach out to people and acknowledge that. I mean, this is the perfect time to go out and survey your customers and to survey your team, because I can guarantee you your team is stressed right now. And so again, whereas we might normally say survey your team every 9 to 12 months, right now, we might say do it at least once a quarter or every 3 months, because things are changing so rapidly. Environments are changing rapidly. Who's the hotspot is changing rapidly. And all those things are having effects on people.
Right. Okay. And so, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, yeah, the higher touch points, what we're saying is right now, don't make sales calls, make service calls. So make sure that people being cared of, including your prospects, those will turn into sales calls later. And even when I'm making my calls, I would say, Jeanne, this is normally a sales call, but it's a service call. Here's what I want your firm to be doing over the next few months. When things normalize, I'll circle back around to have another conversation, but I want to make sure you're good in the meantime. And the response I get, I mean, you know, I'm getting maybe 4 to 5% actual people on the phone leaving a lot of voicemails, but the response is, whew, thanks, that was a really nice call to get. And so it seems that people are looking for, you know, for lack of a better term, a little extra love right now. Yeah. Now, let me change directions. So tell me about Hurricane Katrina and kind of your involvement and kind of your work around that. Back, how long ago was that? 13 years ago?
2005.
Okay, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so talk to me about that. Now, were you still in Baton Rouge, or where were you when that was happening?
No, I was in Baton Rouge, and I was still on faculty at LSU. I was actually part of the LSU Hurricane Center. We had an interdisciplinary organization, and we actually did a survey not long before Katrina hit. We had a project that was funded by FEMA, and it was designed to find out what would happen if the big one hit New Orleans. And so we surveyed New Orleans residents, and we asked them about their social network structures, not Facebook. Facebook didn't exist then, the real connections to real people. We asked them about their levels of social support, and we measured something we called depressed mood, which is an emotional state, not clinical depression, but this little index is actually correlated with clinical depression. So we got those data. Those data actually went into the Hurricane Pam exercise for FEMA. And then the big one did hit New Orleans shortly thereafter. We were actually able to re-interview some of the same people. So we had pre-post data on these network structures, the support, and the level of depression. Okay, so what was really interesting about that, and I'm gonna get in the weeds for a second here, because I think this is really important for people to understand right now. That little measure of depressed mood we used was very simple. It asked how many days in the last week they had experienced each of 7 symptoms. Felt they couldn't get going, felt sad, had trouble sleeping, felt everything was an effort, felt they couldn't shake the blues, felt lonely, and had trouble focusing on a task. Okay, so 7 simple questions, but think about those things for a minute. If that's your team, if that's your customers, okay, they can't sleep, they're having trouble getting going, they can't shake the blues, they feel lonely, that's going to have an effect on productivity in a major way. And what we found that I think is really important and instructive for us right now is that 18 months after Katrina, because remember, we had data from the same people before and after, 18 months after Katrina, that index was still double pre-Katrina levels.
Wow.
Double, okay? So that tells us something about how long-term the effects of what we're going through right now are likely to be. They're not going to abate quickly. And in fact, some of them aren't even going to show up for a while. And that's one of the reasons that we're seeing so many people raising the alarm about the mental health effects. I heard a physician at the Baylor College of Medicine say he thinks the mental health effects of this thing will exceed the physical health effects. That's pretty sobering when we think about 100,000 people having died in the United States. But here's what's important to also recognize is at the same time that that depressed mood was so elevated for so long in New Orleans, it wasn't uniformly distributed. Okay, let's think about social support. People who said that they had enough people to help them only some of the time, among them, almost half, 49%, had a high level of depressed mood. If they said they had enough people to help them most of the time, that fell to 19%. Okay.
Wow.
That's a dramatic difference. We don't see differences that big in research that often. So almost half of the people who said they had enough people to help them only some of the time versus 19% of the people who said they had enough people to help them all the time. That's a big difference. And if we look at the people who said they had enough help most of the time, it was 23% among them. So the better social support people got, the better they did. Very basic. So what that tells us is, as business owners, we need to be making sure that our teams are staying connected to each other, because that's what gives them what we call the instrumental support to help getting things done. And we also need to make sure they stay connected to their close friends and family, because those are the strong ties that give us the expressive or emotional support.
Well, and I wonder too, like, we all lean on, social networks in regards to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that right now. I find that since this happened, I'm much quicker to call people more often, FaceTime with them, let them see me and see them. And I wonder how much of business we have, delegated to social media, right? We release stuff on our blogs, YouTube channel, your Facebook page. And so what I'm kind of hearing from you is, here's an opportunity for professionals and businesses to really play that role in herding all of their markets together and making sure that they feel like they can be in that subgroup of people that have a lot of support, or mostly have a lot of support. And that must be a role that businesses can play for their clients right now, is that higher level of engagement, and I guess with staff also.
Absolutely it is, Chris. I mean, I've got a client, we've reached out to all our clients because you taught me well. And we've reached out to them, and I have one client that they're going through some really significant challenges right now. And I said, I emailed the CEO and I said, look, because I'd had a conversation with my primary point of contact in the company. And I emailed the CEO and I said, look, I know it's tough right now. And so you tell me what I can do to help. And this is not something we're going to invoice. This is me helping you, because we truly believe that when we have a client, we're in partnership with them. And that is never more important to us than right now.
How was that received?
I got an email back from the CEO immediately, who happens to be a woman. And it was like, she was so grateful, and she signed the email XOXO. She was very, it was immediate. But part of the reason that it resonated and it got that response was because it was real. I do want to help. I will sit down with their marketing people or whatever they need right now. We're going to get through this. We're all tired of hearing we're all in this together, but we are. And with our clients, we're going to get through this together. And if we can help, we're going to do it.
Well, that's what I love about you. I mean, you're a good person. You make me want to raise my game up in how I engage, because you are good, very, very good with your markets. I wonder though, so putting your social scientist hat on, is it true, this is what I've been saying to people, and I could be totally full of BS, is this Corona issue the first time since World War II where everyone we talk to is in a similar experience where they've been impacted? Like, has there been anything else you can think of where everybody, like 9/11, not really, right? Like 9/11 was pretty American centric. I mean, granted, a lot of things came out of that, but has there been anything else? Because it seems like what I love about it, which is terrible, I don't like the health part, but I certainly love the opportunity part, is anywhere I call anyone, we have something to talk about right away. Where normally what school did you go to? Are you married? Do you have kids? How long have you been in business? What are you're searching for that starting point of the conversation, where this is kind of a gimme. It's a mail-in right off the bat. You can say, how are you? How have things shifted since this hit? And so has there been anything else that you've witnessed that had this type of impact?
Not that I can think of, Chris. I mean, we've seen economic downturns. Obviously the Great Depression would have been an analog because it was global, but it was a long time ago. Certainly in our lifetimes, we've not seen anything like this. And part of what sets this event, part of what sets this event apart from a natural disaster is, even with something as devastating as Katrina, it was geographically concentrated. And so as soon as the event was over, help poured in from all over the United States. Well, now everybody's experiencing it at the same time, and there's nobody to come and bail us.
Well, and it seems too that there's no end in sight, right? So we have an idea of when, but we're already, I think that's where I'm seeing a lot of fatigue in people. Is, things are slowly quieting down, but they're like, get ready for the fall second wave. And it seems like people, unlike an earthquake or a volcano like Mount St. Helens, which was 40 years ago or whatever, or even a space accident, there is a finite end that everybody can see what the end is. But with this one, it's different, right? And I think a lot of people are still mindful of, let's go back to how it was. Like the boats are burnt. We're now moving inland, like the new norm. And so given that, I've heard a lot of businesses saying we are holding back on our business development investment right now to wait to see what happens. And to me, that blows my mind, because it's like saying it's a gold rush, but we want to wait to see everyone take the gold out of the mountain before we buy a pen. And so talk to me how people can use surveys, your expertise, predictive analytics, all of that science, because it seems like all of that is sitting below the surface and businesses are just overall skimming over it. Like they're not drilling down to actually get that ore. And so what's the process if a business wanted to start engaging their markets to not only solidify them and keep them, but to expand? What's the process somebody goes through with you in real dumbed down version?
The first thing is, the first thing they need to do before they even go to the market, they need to go to their team, in my opinion. Because if you can't keep your team not just together, but focused, I mean, think about the stress that people are under right now. Nothing is simple. I mean, it's not easy to get groceries. It's not easy to do anything in many parts of the country. So you need to engage them first, because if you think about a company like Southwest Airlines that is famously customer centric, okay? Ken Blanchard wrote a book with the second CEO of Southwest Airlines. It was called Lead with Love, LUB. And what they said in that book, the CEO said, we don't put our customers first, we put our people first. Because if we put our people first, they'll take care of our customers. So the first thing a business needs to do, in my opinion right now, is they need to take care of their teams. They need to reach out to them with a survey, with an instrument, not just anecdotal stuff. Because first of all, they may be very reluctant to tell you what's really going on one-on-one. But if in the context of a confidential instrument, particularly if it's done by a third party, we're getting a lot of people coming to us right now and saying, we need to see how the team's doing. You need to do that early and often.
Is that almost like an electric suggestion box where you can put stuff in and nobody knows? And that's kind of the randomization of an online tool.
Exactly. And so, you're going to get that feedback from them, but you're going to get it confidentially. And there are going to be some people who may need some help. I mean, you may need to offer your team some counseling right now. That's the great thing about telemental health, is it can be done confidentially. We had somebody come in and say, look, I want you to bring in this telemental health company. I don't want to know who uses it. I'll pay for it. I just want it available for them. So I think that's a great thing to do. So number one is take care of your team. Number two is engage your market and go out the way that we discussed. So we sit down, we talk about what we need to know right now. You need to be asking questions about those two fundamental things we talked about at the beginning. What do they need and want? How well are we giving them what they need and want? But I think you also need to be asking some questions about this environment, because the world is radically different than it was on the 1st of January. And it's always dangerous to assume what your customers are experiencing, but it's particularly dangerous right now. So we have, one of the markets in which we work, there's some companies that are working 18-hour days because they supply PPE and cleaning supplies, and they're trying to hold everything together and get everything done with disrupted supply chains. And then on the other hand, we have people who had to lay off half their labor force within 3 weeks. So, you can know a little bit about who's who in terms of what vertical they're in, but not everybody who's working the 18-hour days is having the same experience. So you need to understand what's going on with them, and then that's going to help you know how you can help. And if you approach it in that way, then you're going to engage your market in a way that's going to be great for everybody.
Well, a buddy of mine calls it the Marco Polo right now. So I don't know if you guys have this down where you're at, but the pool game Marco Polo?
Yep.
And so he said that that's what his company is like, Marco, and then they listen for where are the staff and where are the customers, to make sure the customers aren't going too far out.
Yep.
Because his thought is once they get too far out, it's going to be too far for them to swim back. And so they call it kind of the Marco Polo strategy that they have in place right now. But so what I'm hearing from you is your first market that you're surveying or that you're checking the temperature of is your internal market. That's your employees.
Exactly.
And my guess is they're probably a good kind of a primary research collector as well. Especially if they're client facing, they're going to be collecting some important data for the company just on the sentiment of the clients. Second ring is existing clients. So checking in to make sure that they're rolling. And then the third would be extended markets.
And what you just said about the team as sort of an indicator of what's going on with the customers is really important, because in quote unquote normal times, when if we do a concierge customer service engagement with a client, we survey the team, we survey the customers, but it's always fascinating because we measure satisfaction among the customers, but we also measure the team's perception of how satisfied the customers are. And those two things don't always match up. It's really, really interesting. Sometimes they overestimate positive sentiment and sometimes they underestimate it. If it's the latter, we've got a chance to build morale. If it's the former, we've got something we need to fix fast.
Gotcha. And so if the customers are happier than the employees think they are, we got to bottle that and make sure that we have it everywhere. But if the staff think we're doing a great job, we're doing a 10 out of 10, and the clients go, you're a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
That gap analysis is where the magic is to keep those clients and make them fans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we better figure out, it's not enough just to fix it. We better figure out why those people are missing the mark so much in what they think about the customers. And I think often part of the problem is maybe the company's measuring customer sentiment, but it's the data are siloed. It just astounds me how many times a company makes an investment to get feedback from their customers, and the data sit in a report on the shelf. The inside salespeople don't have access to it. The customer service people don't have access to it. It's not tagged in the CRM. And in this day and age with dashboards and CRMs and all the tools that we have, it's so simple. I mean, we build dashboards when we get customer sentiment, and we take them to our clients and say, give everybody access to this. Because if you're in customer service and you know that John wants to be able to order this way, and Steve wants to be able to order this way, and John wants it immediately, and Steve's content to wait till tomorrow, that's going to make a huge difference in your ability to serve those people well.
Right. That makes sense. And what I like about it, I mean, there's obviously a bottom line advantage. And so when I think of business, right, I think of BEAR, business expansion, attraction, and retention. And so what I know from kind of our work together is attracting new business, right, by letting them know you're a responsive company that is continuing, continued innovation, looking to create a better kind of client experience. So that's attraction. Extension is getting more business from the people you're already working with because you're easy to work with. And then the retention is not losing them. And I think a lot of people think when they're making an investment in research is, we're going to spend this money. Are we going to get any new clients out of it? It's not just about getting new clients, but keeping the clients you have. And I think this is a stat I've used forever. And again, it could be BS, but I read somewhere that it takes 10% of the resources to keep an account compared to finding a new account. And so I have to assume, and I don't know if you've ever heard this from your clients, but not only can you support engagement, you're a bit of an insurance policy. You must be able to see ahead of time if there's a chance of a segment of the market or a client that might leave just by simply asking the right question ahead of time. Have you seen anything like that?
Absolutely, Chris. I mean, you can get a bellwether. And so if you find out that somebody's not satisfied or they wouldn't, one of my favorite questions, I don't like Net Promoter, but I do like to just ask, would you recommend this company? If they say no, you better get them on the phone fast. And so that's one thing. Your point about expansion and about, it is about retaining your existing clients, but to put it crudely, it's also about selling more to your existing clients. And we uncover missed opportunities on that front every single day. So if we have 21 indicators that are correlated not just with satisfaction among customers, but with the probability that they'll buy. Okay, so 21 things that actually drive buying decisions. And one of those 21 things is how well the salespeople know the customer's business and the extent to which those salespeople recommend new products and services, right? If your salespeople aren't doing that, or if maybe your salespeople will say, yeah, I do that, but if the customers don't perceive that they do that, there's a missed opportunity right there. And that gives you really important information that you better dig in and do some really serious training with your salespeople, because that's an enormous missed opportunity.
Well, I think the inverse of that is also true, in that I have a lot of clients who go, we need to update our website, we need to do this, we need to do that. And what I say is, how many of your clients or prospects have told you they're not doing business with you because your website isn't right? And they're like, well, one. And I'm like, okay, so you probably want a bigger sample size. Because my dad used to say, if somebody calls you a horse's ass, you can tell them to piss off. If two people call you a horse's ass, you might want to buy a saddle. And so it seems like this information will not only point you in the right direction, but keep you on track so that you're not following shiny things that you think are there. But I guess going back to the data doesn't lie. Data is going to tell you, it's going to tell you the truth if you ask it properly.
That's exactly right. And we see exactly what you're describing every day. We see people focusing on the next shiny object, the next ERP system or something like that, instead of engaging in the most important place, which is their relationship with their customers. And that's particularly right now. If you're doing that right now, it's, in my opinion, it's incredibly dangerous.
What I always hook guests into, information about you in the description below in the video. I'm going to put a link to your book, which I'm a big fan of. And I found one of your videos on YouTube where you were talking kind of about predictive analytics and that stuff. So I'm going to put a link into that as well. If people have a question, is that all right for them to email you with the question if I put your email down in the description? Just if they have a question around how this works for their business, are you open to having a conversation with people that watch this video?
Absolutely. They can figure out by now, you and I both love to talk. And so I'd love to have a conversation with anybody right now. That's one of the most important things I can do right now is to try to, give people some advice that'll help them get through this.
Well, and we're Chi Beta Phi sisters. What is it?
Yeah. Phi Beta Kappa, Chris.
Phi Beta Kappa. I can't believe you don't have a dance. I thought all of those sororities had a dance.
No, Phi Beta Kappa is not a sorority.
Oh.
It's an honor society.
Is it a nerd thing?
It's a nerd thing. It's a major nerd thing.
See, I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. I watched Pitch Perfect 3 the other night. I thought you might have been in an a cappella group with your sisters, but it's a nerd thing.
It's a nerd thing.
Which is why I don't know, right? Mr. 2.1 GPA. I was the student you would have had stand in the hall, even in university.
I don't believe that.
Okay, well, listen, everybody, thanks for watching. And so, like I said, I'm going to put some of Jeanne's information down in the description below. I think we might do another one of these because I don't know about you, but it seems like we just tapped the surface of this information. And for me, any advantage that I can get in business, I try to take. And so keep an eye open for a future video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the comments below, or both of our contact information will be down there as well. Stay safe, and remember, gladiators eat first. We'll see you in the next one.